Bobby.
Matthew, how are you? Great to be back.
Great to be back. Nice to see you, my friend. Haven't seen you in a while.
Well, it's been a minute.
Welcome.
You're away from your normal place of business, aren't you?
Yeah, sorry. Different background if you're watching here on YouTube. I am in a hotel in Boston for a work conference, but I'm not going to skip the Ombudsman report, of course. Welcome to the show. If this is your first time listening, my name is Matthew Spurrier. Mm-hmm. I am one of the hosts for the OR podcast. We try to do this every week. With me, as always, Bobby Juliana.
How are you?
Doing well. Resident conservative over here.
Yep.
On the right, and must have been a crazy week for you. Certainly a crazy week for me. I felt like we were living in a movie. You know,
yeah.
I was honestly scared to drive up to Boston. I didn't know if there were going to be tanks on the road or if there was going to be blockades. I didn't know if we were going to start, rounding people up.
Yeah, blockades, checking your papers, making sure you didn't vote R in the last election.
Because if you've been paying attention at all, if you just have, CNN tangentially in the room, in the background, the sky's falling down and democracy is dead. I was just telling Bob before this at my work conference here, nothing to do with politics, by the way.
Well, nothing does anymore, but seemingly politics has to be infused.
Yeah, it was a branding seminar, for marketing. And the keynote speaker decides to go off on a 25-minute tangent about how democracy is dead and how that the United States, it's a good thing the United States pulled out of the Human Rights Council from the UN because they don't deserve to be in it with the internment camps that are being on the border right now, right? How could we stand shoulder to shoulder with, heralds of human rights like Saudi Arabia and Egypt and Cuba and Venezuela? I mean, the United States can only strive to be a quarter as caring as those guys. So basically, this is people laugh when you say it, and it's pretty annoying. I can already tell. I hate saying it at this point. I'm sick of using it, but Trump derangement syndrome. Maybe I was hyperbolic in using that over the past few podcasts. I'm willing to admit, you got to play it up for the show. But, they say don't cry wolf because then when a real wolf comes, these people are fucking out of their minds. We're going to go through a couple examples here in a minute, but they're not even hiding the calls for violence and group harassment and such. So, scary time out there. What do you think, Bob? What was your take just from a 30,000 feet up?
It's not a scary time yet, but it's coming. Like, you can't continue. Look, we're a year and a half into Trump's presidency. Like, there is a long way to go before this thing could potentially be over or potentially get renewed for 4 more years. Okay,
I couldn't imagine. Honestly, how they would react.
Dude, the left is in their death throes right now. Like, I honestly think the party has never been less in power, whether federally or, statewide, since World War II. Like, I think since, 46 or 48, they've held this low amount of seats.
Interesting.
Like, 38 Republican governors, massive amounts of Republican-controlled legislatures. The party is losing. Okay, even though Obama won 2 elections, he decimated his own party. And this is what happens when you don't have legitimate power anymore. Like, they don't know what to do. Their ideas aren't winning. What they prescribe and what they propose in place of Trump isn't what people want. And so you're going to get lashed out violence and anger. And, you're seeing it from the most mainstream of mainstream people, whether it's the most mainstream celebrities, which we'll bring up later, or, congressmen, actual politicians, calling for not just calling for what even? Not just something, disagreement or protests, like legitimately calling for violence. And you're seeing Republican officials in the administration getting harassed. There's been 3 or 4 right over the last couple days.
Yeah. Christian Nielsen. Right.
Christian Nielsen.
Stephen Miller.
Was harassed. Dude, I saw a story today, and I don't know if it's confirmed or not, but a dead, burnt animal was left on the porch of someone that works at DHS.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's getting more and more charged in terms of the rhetoric, and that only can play out. It's not going to go the other directions, and so I think this is just going to keep escalating until something breaks, and whether that's the Democrat Party or whether that's violence, I don't know what's going to be the outcome, but it's ramping up to something that isn't preferable. That's for sure.
I was not actually. I wasn't surprised, but it was nice to see Cory Booker actually come out and go against what Maxine Waters was saying, and Cory Booker was kind of calling for civility. Smart move by him, I think.
Right. Well, he's going to run in 2020, so definitely a good move. But I mean, definitely a common sense move.
I mean, the reaction to it was "fuck you, Cory Booker."
Yeah.
That was the reaction, and which took me back. I was like, "Well, damn, okay, that's a little surprising."
No, people are trying to say that Maxine Waters' comments aren't. They're trying to say they aren't what they clearly are, which is
brown shirt. A bunch of brown shirts, man.
It's literally like, what is fascism? Like what she asked people to do. Like, is that?
Yeah, and Maxine, she's not a fascist, but these are fascist tactics. Like,
no, well, they think they're fighting Hitler, but they're using Hitler's tactics. So like,
it's pretty weird.
Who
right?
is the real Hitler?
All right. I won't call Maxine Waters Hitler. I mean, I do.
I think that's a game you play, though. That's how it works now, Matt.
Right. It used to be whenever you compared something to Hitler, then you lose. Now it's that's step one, and then you have to get creative and think out of the box. So we've said Maxine Waters a couple of times. Why don't we just play what we're talking about? If you haven't seen it yet, Maxine Waters was, I guess, at a protest, and she had a interesting choice of words for her constituents.
Mm-hmm.
If we can't protect the children, we can't protect anybody. If you see anybody from that cabinet in a restaurant, in a department store, at a gasoline station, you get out and you create a crowd. And you push back on them. And you tell them they're not welcome.
So
that seems calm, level-headed, reasoned. Someone you can talk to, someone you can debate issues on.
That seems
someone
like,
you can compromise with. Really?
That's really doing her job, pushing the country in the right direction.
When they go low, we go high.
And listen, what's getting lost in all of this is the plight of the kids, right? That's fair to say. It's not the kids' fault that came over here, and in some cases, it's not necessarily the parents' fault that they were born into such a bad situation that they want to flee and come to this great country. The problem is that there has to be a system in place to deal with immigration. Okay, you can't just have porous borders where people just come in unfettered, unchecked. And the Democrats, what they want is essentially open borders, which is a non-starter because Donald Trump, the 2016 election, was a referendum on the border. Okay, that's what it all was.
100%.
I mean, I wish he would have stayed more true to the anti-war stuff, but the military-industrial complex sweeps you up once you get in there, and the CIA starts sharing secrets. But the border was his thing. That's why he won, right?
Yeah.
Ann Coulter. The only reason Ann Coulter hates him until he gets this wall, right? So they're both coming from zero sum. We can't compromise on this one issue, and like people have said before, they've only started caring about this policy once Donald Trump got in the White House.
Once they realized they needed something to hit him over the head with. Like, it's just dishonest to say that this is the first time it's been going on. We've had a broken immigration system for years now, years and years and years. And you're right, he won the election because of that issue. And Democrats can't say that their position is open borders. And so to avoid a debate altogether, they're just going to grandstand on the issue and say he's racist or he's not a Nazi, which, I mean, is equally absurd as their actual position. And they won't say their actual – they will not say it, but you you see it. So he was okay, separating families at the border, right? Then he passes that executive order, like, oh, we're going to bring them back together. And immediately they lockstep in unison. There must be a great email chain. Like, there must be CNN, MSNBC, ABC, NBC, all the Democrat Party leaders and all the special interest groups.
Who's the communications director over there for the DNC?
George Soros, but that's a separate issue.
All right, Alex. All right.
Yeah, Alex Jones here.
Yeah.
No, but Matt, they moved in lockstep from this is a terrible, inhumane policy to even detaining families together in the same place is a terrible, inhumane policy. But they didn't finish the sentence. ... The sentence should end. Basically, what you want you to catch them, get their names, release them back into the country.
Yeah, exactly.
Catch and release. They want catch and release, and they're never going to give it up.
Yeah, all the articles talking about this immigration law, it's so funny. You have to go down to like paragraph 15C before it mentions that all of these abuses in the immigration system were happening in 2014, 2015.
Right.
Meanwhile, they're putting...
Yeah, it's some pretty horrible shit, though. Let's not gloss over that. Like, kids getting bags put on their heads.
Awful.
Kids in chains.
You know, like, me.
Spending couple hundred days, 400 or 500 days, over a year in these facilities.
No, you know me. I'm against putting people in cages. I think if you're going to put someone in a cage, you better have a damn good reason. They better be a threat to society. I think there are ways to do it. I'm sure a compromise could be had, but like you were saying, I mean, so basically what happened is in 2014, the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that it was inhumane to keep children detained with their parents while they're being federally prosecuted. Right, so they were taking the whole family unit and they were basically just putting them in like a cell, waiting for them to either claim for asylum,
I don't know if it would
or be
in
prosecuted.
A cell. It's like
not a cell. It's
center,
one of those
like
detention centers, right? Not
yeah,
pretty,
sure.
right? Sure, not pretty.
Still not pretty, but continue.
No, it's certainly not the Marriott, but then the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals ruled that was inhumane, and so what they decided was you could not keep families. You couldn't keep children in those centers, right? Because you can't keep children in detention centers.
Especially when their parents are the ones being prosecuted.
When their parents are the ones being prosecuted or applying for asylum. And so they took them and put them in a separate area. Now, what we've seen are those tent cities, are those places with, they're separating kids with fences based on age and gender and what have you. With what I'm guessing, limited resources, right?
I mean, let's be real, though. Like, first off, there's a mass flux of people. So, they're trying to do and provide the best services possible with obviously budget constraints. And then also, some months, some years have much more immigration than others. Mm-hmm. Like when Trump initially came into office, immigration went down considerably. And it has ratcheted up since because people realize that his tough talk is all talk. There's no policy changes yet. Mm-hmm. But the facilities aren't great, but they're not.
What's the alternative?
Exactly. They're not what you would want them to be.
No.
They're not super terrible, but there's no alternative. What are you really going to – I mean, they are giving the kids obviously food, shelter. They're teaching them. They're playing games. Like there's a fair amount of effort. I think it's not ideal. But
no, because none of this is ideal.
100,000 people cross the border in a month. You know what I mean? You end up with 10,000 kids on your hands. Like we need to change on a legislative level. Like we need a whole change of our immigration system in order for these issues to resolve themselves. Because otherwise, we're just playing whack-a-mole.
Right, like I was saying last time, it can't. We need to come up with a solution that stops this from even becoming a conversation. There needs to be a policy in place where people aren't crossing the border, being picked up and federally charged, and kids are being separated. It needs to happen 2 steps before we get there. Before the kids are being separated, there needs to be an intervention somewhere.
But hold on, right there. Let's think through that. What actually could be done? I mean, Matt, there's 60,000 people showing up at the border every month.
I know. You got to
this is why Trump won, because people think about it. They're like, I don't understand how the visa system works, and I don't understand E-Verify. Build a big wall. How about that? Will that work? Like, it was the most simplified answer to the problem.
Yeah, it's tough, man. I mean, people want to come to America. We don't talk enough about how, and this isn't an excuse or an open invitation for anyone to just try to come here. I mean, I think everyone, if you want to apply to come to America and be an American, then you're more than welcome to come here and work and live the American dream. But the drug wars and that have been going on in South America.
Driving people.
Colombia, Venezuela, like our activity in some of these countries has basically forced a chokehold up through Central America, where all these drugs and it exacerbates violence. So let's end the war on drugs. And I'm not saying that's going to solve everything. It won't. But it's a place to start. And it's a reason that a lot of these places are places that you want to flee from, and you're willing to travel with your child to get away.
I saw an interesting thought experiment. It was like, what if we took the time, effort, and money that we've pumped into Afghanistan and maybe help out, like, some of the South American countries?
Mexico? Let's help Mexico out. Let's help. Yeah, like, seriously. Let's take all the money that we spent on these wars and dropping bombs on poor brown people and, do some good to the South. I'm cool with that. What I wanted to say, though, on the executive order was, remember when these pictures and stuff came out, right? You had Time magazine, Trump smirking at a crying Honduran girl. Turned out she was never separated from her family, and Time had to issue a correction, but saying it captured the moment's feelings, right? Yeah. So that's how you get away from...
And what really is problematic is that Republicans weaponized the incorrection, the correction we had here.
That's the problem. That's the issue. Yeah. What a deflection by Time. No one ever said they aren't great wordsmiths and playing on words. But Trump issued this executive order, and I want to show you this from the ACLU just because it was, quite frankly, I thought it was pretty amazing. Mm-hmm. And this is a fact check, and this is so they have a picture of Kristen Nielsen, and it's fact-checking family separation. And they issued this update on the 21st of June. It says, on June 20th, President Trump issued an executive order purporting to end the family separation policy. But that doesn't end the humanitarian crisis, which he created. The executive order offers no plan to reunite the thousands of children who remain separated from their parents. The administration has signaled that it will now detain all families with children, regardless of whether they are asylum seekers or pose a flight risk or a danger to the community. These children don't belong in jail at all under any set of circumstances. Now, I agree that the children don't deserve to spend time in jail, but that is why, this is what the problem was in 2014, was they were keeping families in jail, so they ruled you couldn't do that.
Right.
And so, I love how they say the humanitarian crisis, which he created.
As if this hasn't been going on since the fucking 80s.
No, and also as if Donald Trump was like, I have an idea, guys. Ready? We're going to kidnap a bunch of kids, and we're just going to put them in internment camps. All right? We'll make America great again back to the 1940s. It'll be fantastic. It'll be absolutely great. We'll steal a bunch of kids. Right? That's not how it happened. He enforced immigration law, and the law was shit. It's a shitty law. It needs to be fixed legislatively. And no one knew about it until Donald Trump changed it, and we started seeing these, influx of kids being detained. So back to this ACLU article, because the other part that I thought was amazing that sort of speaks to it. So, do the courts require family separation? And, and the ACLU, absolutely not. Despite the claims of GOP leadership to the contrary, House Speaker Paul Ryan and Senator Chuck Grassley have blamed family separation on the courts, specifically a decades-old court agreement known as the Flores Settlement, which established protections for children to prevent their indefinite detention in unlicensed facilities. That's exactly the court case that we're talking about. Getting rid of the protections in the Flores Settlement, so doing away with the Obama-era settlement, would only further the administration's goal of being able to indefinitely imprison families, but ending family separation does not require family prisons. So the implication, what they're insinuating there is Trump's main goal isn't to stop immigration. His main goal is to get a bunch of brown families, keep them in prison forever, indefinitely. That's the whole thing. The whole thing's been a big ruse, right? The whole thing's been a big ruse, and the entire goal is to lock up as many people as possible.
That's the kind of 4D chess our Hitler plays, Matt. He understands that if he separates families at the border and detains the children, that it will cause such a backlash that he can reverse it and detain the whole family. That's how far ahead he's thinking in terms of just trying to enslave these people.
Donald Trump isn't smart enough to think that far in advance, one. And, we talk about, ascribing good faith on people, right? And I know Donald Trump is Hitler. I know he's the most evil person, as Judd Apatow will tell us so eloquently in this next tweet. I know he's evil, but if you think Donald Trump's main intention is to just put people in jail and family, why are you sitting on your butt at home? Why aren't we flooding the streets? Why are you trying to get him to take away all the guns?
Dude, not only that, like we're starting
Come
from
on.
we're giving them too much of a we're giving the people that think he's actually Hitler too much ground to stand on. If you think Trump's actually Hitler, you're not dealing with reality anymore, and everything you say should be fully discredited. Even if you make the most relevant points.
I agree.
I shouldn't listen to a word you say because you're not dealing with facts and reality on the ground here anymore. You're so far separated that you should become irrelevant. Like you just said, like, I agree, Trump's evil. Trump's not evil. Okay? I refuse to believe.
Yeah, he's not. He's not like this guy with devil horns in the back.
We're taking
Come on.
policy disagreements and just going as far possible that you can to demonize them. Because like I said earlier, the left's actual beliefs, they can't speak them. They cannot say, well, our policy on the border is that we really shouldn't have one. Everyone has a right to be here, and we should be taking money from the rich to give it to them. They can't say that. Okay, they would never win another election, and people know that's why that's their policy. So they never vote for him anyway. But they can't say it, and so the only thing that you can combat Trump or Republicans by extension, who have stated policy goals, may not like it, but like they have a general idea of what they want to do with the border, is to just call them Nazis, to demonize them, and to try and use the media to make it look bad and to put such a stigma that people try and get to the polls and vote them out. That's the whole plan. That is the whole plan.
Yep. And, all the attention seekers in Hollywood obviously were out in full force, going to protests and what have you.
Did you see all the mayors and all the celebs showing up at the border?
I saw a little bit of it.
Like Bill de Blasio. He shows up at the border, and you see him, and like they got the camera crew and all, of course, ready to go. And,
exactly.
And he comes up and like knocks on the fence. He's got like his fingers in the fence, like looking, peering through, like taking in all the children. He can hear the cries from behind the gate, and he's and then he walks away like indignant, like, well, they wouldn't even let me in. Like, yeah, you're telling me a federal facility in Texas isn't letting the mayor of New York City in? Wow, shocker there.
I know,
it's
right?
Like, not that important, dude. Go fix the subway.
True.
Like, do your job.
Do your job. Yeah, I know. I mean, damn, he got all the way up close to the fence. Damn, dude, the SS are not doing a very good job.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously. So, what I mean by celebrity freakout, this happened today, and I texted Bob this, and I was like, I forgot what I said. I said, we don't live in reality anymore, or something like that. Look at this. This is Judd Apatow. This is... How do you think this? So, Kamal Nanjiani, the unfunny one from Silicon Valley, Dinesh, he tweets, I know there are a bunch of people upset at the Nazi comparisons, but the highlighted crimes by immigrants move is literally what the Nazis did with Jews instead of immigrants. A surefire way to stop being compared to Nazis is to stop acting like them. Okay. Judd Apatow.
So now it's Nazi-like to point out that illegal immigrants happen to do crimes.
Shh. Don't say that.
What do you mean? They're not all perfect dreamers just trying to get an education and live a great life?
They don't care about the dreamers, dude. They had a chance.
Star. Do I even need to qualify that? But, like, not all are. That was the whole thing. There's no more nuance, but we've said that before. Continue.
Yeah. Judd Apatow. He's a Nazi, period. Wow, how courageous of Judd Apatow.
Right.
He wants no judicial process, even though he went through the 9th Circuit Court of Appeals. You fucking idiot. He kidnapped children and commits acts of violence for political gain and to support his racist views. Where's Trump is personally driving around in the Trumpmobile, taking children off the streets and shooting people on Fifth Ave now. He admires violent dictators. Okay, you got a point. He does seem to like Vladimir Putin and Duterte.
Fair enough. He likes strong leaders.
He likes strong leaders. Trump is a Nazi again, okay? The debate is over. I wasn't aware we were having a debate, Judd Apatow. Soon we will have proof he is a Nazi supported by the Russians because,
wow.
you can always point out the Nazis. Just look wherever the Russians are giving money. See, it's so funny because to him, there's nothing ironic in there. What do you mean? Yeah, of course, the Russians support the Nazi president. Just you're supposed to take that on face. It's not like they didn't fight a fucking war. It's not like they're mortal enemies, right?
Yeah.
The communists and the Nazis. So Judd Apatow apparently doesn't read history books.
Right.
Apparently not. He's just been, smoking too much weed and hanging out in Hollywood.
That was actually, of all the lines
which
in
is
there,
fine.
And the two "he is a Nazi" period sentences in there, that's the one that really got me.
You're a professional
He's
writer,
a Nazi
dude.
supported by the Russians. It just made me laugh.
It's unreal. What am I supposed to say to that?
These people who are invoking Nazi Germany seem to not really know anything about it
Nothing.
at all.
Zero. Dude, the amount of blue check marks that we're talking about, we're 2 steps from genocide. We're 2 steps from genocide in the United States because there was an executive order that overturned a Flores settlement in 2014. Are you kidding me? And they don't talk about it, but I don't know. The hypocrite line gets old. But Jen Johnson, former DHS secretary, was on CNN with Jake Tapper,
right,
and said, basically admitted, it was kind of us who started it, and there was a bunch of kids, and we just had to put them in centers.
Yeah, he was like, this policy really isn't great, but it's been going on since we were in office. And CNN was like, quick, cut to commercial.
No, okay, listen. You're allowed to have shitty policies. That's why we have a legislative branch, so we can change bad policies. But it's the overreaction. It's the, no one's talking about March for Our Lives. I also noticed, I was about to tweet something about that today. Did we just forget about our kids in our schools that are apparently under threat to be shot down at any single moment? All of a sudden, we stopped caring because of this. But
no, give it 2 weeks, dude. The kids on the border won't matter either. Okay, these are just outrage topics because they can't talk about what they actually believe. Okay, we haven't had a substantive policy discussion in years because their policy is so fringe that they have to just claim the other side is actually more fringe than they are. That's how it works now. But dude, we talk about the hypocrisy. Like, I'm starting now to just do what I've been doing this whole podcast. I'm just laughing.
It's insane.
Laughable.
It's insane.
Because Hitler's doing shit on the border is what they're telling me, and then he's still acting like Hitler when he tries to clarify it. And I love how Hitler was telling everyone we need the legislature to take care of this. We need to change the laws. He tweeted all caps, change the laws. Okay. Mm-hmm. I don't really know any history of Hitler asking the legislature to step in on his behalf. But besides from that, the Democrats then rejected that. Okay. Chuck Schumer said he would not work with them. He would not do any of their bills. They shot it down dead in the air. They're like, nothing's going to get passed because we can still have enough leverage. And their answer to solve the crisis on the border was to ask Trump to sign something, to overstep his constitutional bounds, to actually do dictator-type shit and break what he's legally allowed to do to end this for them on the border. And he did it. And yet he's still Hitler.
And it almost gets to a point where, I'm done. And I mean, I'm not obviously big enough, but I'm not apologizing to any of these people ever. And if I'm Donald Trump, it's like, I do what you don't like, you call me a Nazi. I do what you tell me to do, I'm a Nazi. Fuck you. I mean, like, that's how I would be, honestly. I mean, it's like, why are you trying to appease people that no matter what you do will always hate you and will forever consider you the most evil person to ever, walk the halls of the White House?
Matt, that's why Trump won, dude. They've been doing this since Bush. At least on this. Yeah, dude. Okay, Matt, Mitt Romney, John McCain was a nice, honorable man. And then he runs for office against Obama, and he's a racist bastard. Mitt Romney is a Mormon, from all accounts, one of the nicest people you could ever meet. And yet, when he runs for office, okay, he straps dogs to his roof, and he has binders full of women, that misogynist creep. Okay, they just demonize the people that are in their way. And they have no intentions of compromising. They're not honest in their discussion. And for as long as we can remember, the Republicans just took it. They didn't fight fire with fire. And once Trump started doing that, everyone with Republican leanings went, wow, we don't have to play this game anymore where we have to be sorry for things we're not actually sorry about. And he won. And Michael Malice has a new book coming out. It's about this changing American right. And I'm very interested to read it because the more I listen to him, he's very accurate, first off. He called that Trump was going to win a long time ago, well before the election.
Yeah, but so does Scott Adams. I don't listen to him either.
That's true. But, I mean,
so did Mike Cernovich. Not my...
Fair enough. All right. I mean, that's not the only barometer, but, like,
You're right. I like
I
Michael
listen
Mouse.
to him
I like
because
Michael
he's
Mouse.
a totally different opinion than I am on many topics. Like he's a stated anarchist,
Yeah, he's a
which
full anarchist.
like I enjoy listening to what he says. I don't agree, but like it's interesting how he gets to those conclusions. But either way, I mean, he was like the other day. He was like, well, Trump. One of the biggest things that I'm happy he's in for is because he's totally breaking down the ability for us to discuss anything. And I don't know how he thinks that's a good thing, but that's certainly true. And he's just saying how there's been a shift on the right to get that attitude, that FU attitude. Just look, you're not giving me a fair shake. You're not even giving like the most centrist ones among us, Mitt Romney and John McCain, a fair shake. So look, we put Trump in. What do you want to do now? And now they're standing on the other side with their arms folded. They have no intentions of shaking hands. Neither side do. Yeah. Which is why you're seeing, all these thought pieces now, like, should the United States break up?
I mean, secession, honestly, the more you think about it, I mean, I know it's got poor connotations, obviously, leaving the Union, but it's like, I think I've probably mentioned this more than once, and I get this from Dan Carlin, the great hardcore history podcaster. What do you do, are you really a country when you can't stand living next to each other? You can't stand that your neighbor, I mean, Rand Paul got tackled by his neighbor, right? Maxine Waters is telling people to gut on crowds. I mean, Sarah Huckabee Sanders can't go to a restaurant. And listen,
hold on.
Let's break that
down slowly though. Let's get back to that. Get back to that. Maxine Waters. Okay, so she said at a rally, if you see someone, if you see someone basically that's a Republican, if you see someone that disagrees with your hardcore liberal beliefs at a gas station, at a restaurant,
department store,
in public, someone in Boscov's buying a freaking T-shirt, maybe they have a "Make America Great" hat on just to make it obvious. But how are you even supposed to know? First off, that's one question. But okay, so someone's got a MAGA hat on in a restaurant. Her actual belief is that I should stand next to their table and start screaming at them? Yeah. Not even approach them civilly like, hey there, I wonder if we could have a discussion. I'm curious why you're wearing that hat. I tend to disagree on most issues, and I'm wondering why you believe that and how you got there. No. You got to walk up to them and yell at them because they're wrong and evil.
No, it's push them back. Push them back. It leads nowhere. This is the thing. It leads nowhere good. I don't understand what you think's going to happen. You think people are just going to take this?
No, but Matt, I think we're already at that point, and we just haven't realized it yet. It's already begun. We're past rhetoric now.
People are going to start fighting, man. And
no, they are. Like you just said it. So okay, Kirsten Niersen got screamed at a restaurant, right? Sarah Huckabee Sanders, the manager and the owner of that restaurant, Red Hen, had pulled the staff when she came in, and the staff voted to kick her out. And that one I'm fine with. It's a private business. I mean, we shouldn't be doing that. We're really going to segregate ourselves based on where we eat. But of all the things that occurred, the business is allowed to do that.
And what's his name down in Florida? It may have been ice work. I'm not sure. Was walking and got spat on.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Harassed and spat on. It's like
forget. No, it was what's her name?
I don't remember the name, but yeah. Either way, what is the goal here? Because you watch social media, and I get that I'm in a little bit of a bubble, maybe by the types of retweets I see and things, but you see a lot of people with a lot of retweets and a lot of likes saying we need a revolution. And I mean, I don't understand where all these genderqueer professors think they're gonna get this revolution from. The Republicans, they're all cops and ex-military people. They're the ones with the guns. You guys are the ones that are afraid of them. So what are you going to do here? What? I don't understand. Like, I mean, obviously that's tongue-in-cheek. I'm joking, but...
No, I mean, we said this a couple podcasts back when they keep claiming the whole right is Nazis and the Nazi, right? And they couldn't get more than like 40 of them to assemble in a nationwide rally and grab their tiki torches. But, like, if you keep calling half the country Nazi... You can find some very, very bad people in that one half of the country, I'm sure, that would love to get violent. Just like there are ones on the left that would love. I mean, it's just statistics. Okay, you're calling 150 million people Nazis. You're gonna find some pretty shitty people in there that would love to throw down.
Yeah, it's like Gavin.
And you'll see it, and I think we are seeing it.
We are seeing it.
Just 1 second, because like you just said, Rand Paul got beat, ribs broken by a neighbor. Okay, I don't know how much that was tied to his political beliefs.
I mean,
but
the reaction on social media was good.
The reaction on social media was either well, that's pretty awful. I wonder what was going on with him and his neighbor. What were they? Was there a bundle of sticks that was like too far over on the property line, and then the other side was saying, well, good, Rand Paul got his ass beat. Wish he got even more. But are we forgetting that about a year ago, a certain former political candidate, Bernie Sanders supporter, maybe got a little heated on the rhetoric and decided to shoot up a baseball field full of Republican congressmen? Are we forgetting that it's already happened? I think we are. And then we see Maxine Waters calling for pushing people back.
That was 35 years ago in this news cycle. I felt like this week was one of the longest weeks of the Donald Trump presidency.
I'm busy, man. I got shit going on. My weeks are flying by, but the news cycle
is what I mean.
Flying by.
It's crazy. Sorry, the what Gavin McInnes says jokingly, and maybe he takes to a little extreme, but he says, there's such a demand for neo-Nazis, and there's only like 7. So like they're looking around, they're like, where are they? They're everywhere. Neo-Nazis are in New York City. And he's like, must be pretty tiring to be a fucking neo-Nazi in New York City. Can't even take the subway. And but there's such a demand. Have you seen White Right on Netflix yet?
I was scrolling. I watched The Staircase, which I highly recommend, by the way. But when like you stop and it starts to play the intro. Yeah, like I let the intro roll for about 20 seconds, and I was like, I'm not gonna watch that because that seems like garbage.
No, it was really good. And Dia Khan.
It was actually good.
Dia Khan's actually really good. She actually retweeted me today when I said good job on the movie. So props to Dia Khan. But she did a good job. She interviewed a bunch of neo-Nazi groups and whatever, and showed, and it's a bunch of fucking losers like we saw at Charlottesville, right? It's a bunch of fucking know-nothing ingrates. But what I really enjoyed about it, which was interesting, was Dia was interviewing one of the leaders of like the new Nazi party, right? And she started reading out some of the emails that his guys sent her, calling her the most disgusting, evil things under the sun, and she sort of made him own it. Like, come on, you gonna say it to my face? And he's like, I don't like. It just goes to show these guys don't think anything through. They're a bunch of idiots. They don't hold any institutional power or anything like that. They have
no power, dude. They've been reduced to. They're just angry on Twitter. You just read a really racist YouTube comment. You're like, oh, there's a Nazi. Like,
yeah. But I do recommend the film White Right. It's really interesting.
All right, fair enough. Really maybe there you can see my bias. I just assumed it was garbage from the start. But all right, I'll check it out.
Check it out. She's really good. She's a good lefty.
What's the name again?
It's called White Right on Netflix.
No. The director.
Dia Khan.
Yeah,
she's good.
Okay. There's a couple good lefties. All right, I guess. I'll make a mental note. Lefties. She's okay.
Make a mental note. And then I think the last thing we wanted to go through was not tied to immigration, but tied to communism or socialists or whatever. So there's a piece in the Huffington Post.
Just stop there. There's a piece in the Huffington Post.
So here it is.
I'll take what's guaranteed to be ridiculous for 1,000, Alex.
Exactly. So the title is Capitalism is the reason your employer is screwing you over. The answer, worker cooperatives, by Richard D. Wolff. So Dick Wolff is going to tell us here exactly why capitalism is the reason for all of our problems. So let's go. I'll read this out for you, Bobby. Let me know if I'm going too fast. There's a lot of intellectualism in this article right here.
I'm sure. It's blistering. Go ahead.
Few businesses show the skewed dynamics between employer and employees as clearly as Amazon. Its CEO, Jeff Bezos, is the world's richest person, with his wealth estimated at around $130 billion. Mm-hmm. Damn, that's so much money. Oh my God, I don't even know what I would do.
Much money. It's so much. Well, let's be honest. It's not like he has 130 sitting in a bank account, dude. It's all tied up in the worth of Amazon. And
yeah, exactly. That's just his wealth estimated. He admits the near impossibility of spending these riches and commits $1 billion a year of his, quote, Amazon winnings to fund a personal project of space travel. So, right there, I just want to stop. Amazon winnings, as if this money just popped out of nowhere, and he just put a silver dollar in the slot. He pulled the crank, and oh my god, $130 billion! It just showed up.
Holy shit!
Amazing. And I think it needs to be said that Jeff Bezos worked very hard to get his money, right? And he made a lot of smart investments. And Amazon, the reason he's worth $130 billion is because Amazon has produced so much for us. I got, look what I got from Amazon the other day. I got Douglas Murray's new book. Came here in one day. Amazon Prime. So he's offering a fantastic service. It's certainly not winnings. Amazon gives me something and I give them my money in return. Perfect trade-off. He didn't win anything. Okay, back on Earth. Actually, so this is the next. Jesus Christ, I hate these people so much. Back on Earth. Amazon's 560,000 employees earn a median salary of $28,000. Its warehouse workers face strict efficiency targets that lead some to relieve themselves in trash cans. And hundreds of Ohio, Arizona, and Pennsylvania-based workers are on food stamps.
Pause. Sure. What was this guy's name? Richard Wellington?
Richard Wolff.
Richard Wolff. I don't know where I got Wellington from. Richard Wolff. How many jobs has he created for other people? How many people has he employed and put money in their pocket? Because it sounds like Jeff Bezos has put directly 560,000 people in office or in a job. And that doesn't even factor in all the people that work with Amazon that have gotten jobs as a result, all the companies that supply products to Amazon, all the people that drive the trucks to drive Matt's book to his house. Okay?
How many products have been made? How many small businesses I'm imagining that due to Amazon and their product being available on this site to be shipped anywhere in the world, how much more does that produce for people? How many more jobs does that create, right? I mean, Amazon, it's the marketplace of the world, of the United States, essentially, right? It's like you go to the bazaar and you can get anything you want. You don't have to go to the mall. You just go on Amazon and you have everything right there at your fingertips. I can buy California-based fucking water if I want to, right? For no reason. It's just...
you can get anything on it.
Get anything on it. And of course not. I mean, dude, none of these communists or socialists ever have real jobs, or they never run businesses.
It's just, I can't think of, except for pure ignorance, it's just blind jealousy. This guy is angry that Jeff Bezos has $130 billion and he doesn't, okay? Right. One. And then
he's smarter than Bezos. And then he knows better.
He takes umbrage that the employees of Amazon make a base of $28,000, for some of them. Mm-hmm. I'm sure there's people at Amazon making way more than that. Okay, a lot of people. Sure. Depends on the job, just like everything else. Depends on the service that you provide. What Richard, I can't remember his name for shit. Richard Wolff? Yeah. What Richard Wolff provides is a HuffPo salary. And what Jeff Bezos supplies is a hell of a lot worth more than that. It's worth $130 billion, apparently.
Now, is relieving yourself in a trash can ideal? No. Sure. And I'm sure there's some...
What's that? I need more detail about that.
I know.
Okay, because it's not like we've got these people in these Amazon factories that are like sweatshops. They're working 18 hours, okay? If they don't hit their target, they're going to get thrown out on the street. And even if they do, we got a great economy right now. They could probably find another job in due time. So
there's job numbers.
Okay, and no one's forcing them to be there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If I'm working in there and I'm getting paid, leave.
I mean...
Leave if you don't like it.
What is the... I mean... The idea is that, you're supposed to spread around your wealth to the company, but these people are getting $28,000 in a job that they may not have had if you raise wages, right? Because isn't that sort of a trade-off? Correct?
He thinks yes, exactly. I mean, dude, if you look at any kind of income statement, balance sheet, you look at the financials of a business, the number one cost is salaries and wages.
Yeah, payroll.
It is payroll. Okay, so if you increase the number one cost already, they're going to find ways to cut money, and that'll probably be in headcount.
Exactly. So moving on, to understand why the relationship between employer and employee is so severely screwed, we have to look at capitalism. Capitalist businesses are starkly undemocratic. Employers are economic dictators. They wield enormous power and control that is unaccountable to the social majority around them, their employees, and the communities in which they live. So, it's because it's his business. It's because the employers are taking all of the risk in the beginning, right? I mean, I talked to my boss who ran a company for 25 years, a marketing company, and he tells me the anxiety he used to feel by not knowing if he was going to make payroll. This idea that, he's an economic dictator and he just, whoosh, get back to work, back on the Amazon worker, whoosh, start stacking them boxes. This idea that it is an opportunity, a job, to give people money to feed their families, and that he's just holding these people hostages. There are cities bidding, risking billions of dollars in tax breaks because they want the Amazon headquarters in their city because they know that their constituents want the jobs and they want the economic prosperity that comes with having an Amazon headquarters in your city. Unreal, man. Unreal.
I love how he says, like, Jeff Bezos and all these business owners are dictators. So my solution is just to make one dictator over the whole country and steal all their money. He doesn't even realize that what he's decrying is what he actually wants on a larger scale.
Mm-hmm. Of course. Okay, moving on. Employees' labor produces profits, which belong 100% to the employers. Wrong. I'm just going to stop right there. Wrong. Labor doesn't produce profit. Okay? Just because you work on something, the longer you work on it, the harder you work on it, doesn't mean it's more valuable. Okay? It has to be something original. It's in how you organize your labor. Okay? Going outside and digging a 100-foot hole, not worth anything. You put a lot of time into it. It was fucking hard. It was a lot of labor. If I spent 100 hours making a painting, it doesn't make the painting worth a shit ton of money. Someone has to be willing to buy it. Someone has to be willing to buy the labor I'm putting into it. So, no, I disagree with the premise that this is the labor theory of value from, communism, where, labor production, sorry.
Labor equals value. It just doesn't.
Basically, yeah. Sorry, I screwed up on the end there. Which belong 100% to the employers. But he has to pay you for a salary, so it doesn't...
He has to pay for the expenses. He has to pay for everything else and your labor before he takes a cent. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yet workers are excluded from decisions about how to use those profits. Because they're not the boss. Because they're not the ones who own the company. They're not the ones taking the risk that if this fails, all of their assets are tied up in it. Like, I understand that they could lose a job. But losing your company, I mean...
No, but just think about it practically. Like to take, like, the most extreme example. Like, let's say you are, like, a janitor at J.P. Morgan. Should you have a vote to tell Jamie Dimon, the head of J.P. Morgan, what to do in terms of, like, global financial markets?
No.
Like, your opinion doesn't matter. Like, no. And I love how he's poo-pooing these jobs. Like, yeah, if you make $28,000 to start, like, I'm sure it's probably pretty hard to live on $28,000 for a year.
For sure.
Again, going back to, well, minimum wage shouldn't exist, but that's a separate issue. But if you're making minimum wage, it's exactly what it is. It's a minimum wage. It's not a living wage. Okay? You really can't live on minimum wage. It's not hurting my opinion to say that. It is an introductory place to start where you can then gain skills so that in time you can make living wages. You can make higher wages. You get these jobs at Amazon and you get skills. You're not just giving away labor, getting your $28,000 and getting nothing else and going home at night. You get skills. You get something to put on a resume. You learn work ethic and show up on time, and you get skills. And then you use those skills to and then earn more money later on. Like, it's like looking at a 20-year-old being like, why isn't he making as much as a 65-year-old? Well, he hasn't had 40 years of experience.
Right, exactly.
It's as simple as that.
Instead, they depend on wages, set and controlled by the employer, as compensation for the work they produce. Set and controlled by the employer.
By the market.
It's controlled by the market, and it's also through negotiations. Okay, right? No one is putting a gun to your head and saying, work.
Take this $28,000 and like it.
$28,000, right? You have the ability to not take the job. And now, I understand, hey, people need jobs. Like, you can't, it's not that easy, but it's not the same thing as saying that, your boss is an economic dictator and just,
right.
And dictates your entire life. That's not true. Employers' decisions shape major aspects of employees' lives, both at work and away from it. The employer alone decides which commodities to produce, what production technology to use, with what side effects, where to locate the workplace, as well as what to do with the profits. I mean,
hold on. Where's that 28,000 a year coming from? By the way.
exactly. Well, but
No. Because simple math, right? What's minimum wage? $7.75.
Yeah, $7.50.
$7.50. Who cares? So let's say 8. Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. 8. Okay. There are 20,080 work hours in a year. Like if you work full time, 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, it's 2080. Okay. So $8 times 2080. So if I work full time at minimum wage for a year, that's $16,640. Okay. And then take off tax because they're stealing your money. Okay. So the Amazon person making 28 grand is making far more than minimum wage.
Yeah, what are they making? Like $15 an hour?
They're making $15 an hour. Yeah, they're making.
I would assume it's some close to that.
Making a little less than $15 an hour.
A little bit less than $15 an hour, probably $12 an hour.
It's that 28.
Hey,
that's pretty good. He could have paid him less.
So
he could have paid him less.
Yeah, he could have exactly. He didn't have to offer him a job at all.
But guess what? No one would have took the job if he was paying them less.
And I also like how employers' decisions shape major aspects of employees' lives. The employer alone decides which commodities to produce. So now, before someone starts a business, you have to hire everybody. You have to bring them all in a boardroom and say, all right, guys, what are we going to make? Anyone got a plan? You, person, 25-year-old. Me, that's working for 28 grand a year. What do you got? What's your plan? Where should we locate the workplace? Is that okay with you? This is just not feasible. Okay?
It's
businesses, they run by, it's efficiency. That's what it is. Everyone's trying to run the most efficient businesses. If this was the efficient way to run a successful business, they would do it. But they don't do it because it doesn't work. Moving on.
It's like these people at HuffPo that write about economics, like, were born yesterday. They got like 45 minutes to read like Karl Marx and like an incorrect economics book, and then they got a deadline to write an article, and this is what they produce. Like, it's so wrong on like each sentence. It's just like, dude, what are you saying?
It's like,
You're 40 years old.
From?
How do you not know this already?
Dude, because they're academics, man. Academics, they don't have to hold
but
real
they're
jobs.
not smart. Don't you have to be smart to be an academic?
No, Bob. You just have to get in with the right people, man. Come on. You know this. You went to college for 4 years and got good grades. It wasn't that hard.
No, it wasn't hard at all. I can't wait for the university not to matter anymore. Once that gets torn down like the media, then we will have progress in this country. Believe me.
Anyway, back to the article. The skills employees develop, the personal connections they make, the seniority they accumulate, the home they invest in, their personal connections in neighborhoods, schools, churches, etc., always risk being lost or diminished by decisions exclusively in employers' hands. Above all, is decision to end a worker's job. Okay, I mean, everyone takes risk, man. I mean, every single job, every single business owner, it's all risk, okay? You're never going to get to zero risk.
No, but take his thought to extension. He's basically saying you can never fire someone. So just one, the answer to that is just work for the government, because then they can't fire you. But two, I don't understand. Like, if the business goes under, what does he want him to do? The business owner should take on debt just to keep paying people to do nothing? Like, how far do you take that thought?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
if he's allowed to bitch that they can fire someone, then he should be able to give me an answer as to what to do if you can't. And you can't.
Well, maybe he'll answer it in this article, but for some reason I have a feeling he won't. While an employee deciding to leave the business will likely make little or no impact on employers' decisions to, for example, relocate production overseas or close a business, carry huge risk on employees. All right, I guess. The undemocratic organization of production increasingly concentrates income and wealth, as well as economic power, in a tiny percentage of the population. Those concentrations dominate politics as well. Fundraising for political campaigns and policies tend to rely on those with the most resources to offer. Wealth translates into political influence. The result is a system of decisions that protect and strengthen capitalism. Okay. I mean, Hillary Clinton is friends with all the millionaires. I mean, political campaigns, like, this is the thing. Trying to get money out of politics is a worthwhile endeavor, in my opinion, right? So, like, the Justice Democrats, for example, Kyle Kaczynski over at Secular Talk, even I'll give credit where credit's due here. You know, Cenk Uygur at the Young Turks, they're progressive. They want money out of politics, right? But the thing with money in politics and this whole thing is that if there's money to be made in government, which there is, as long as the government is picking winners and losers, people are going to find a way to influence it. And they're going to get around it. And now the way to get around it is by giving $500,000 Wall Street speeches. That's how they get around it now, right?
Dude, the way to get money out of politics is to get money out of the government. The government didn't have money to throw around. There wouldn't be a need to decide who throws it around.
Yeah. I mean, as the bigger the state gets, the more money the state, takes in, the more people want their share of the pie. So money in politics is, a problem that's going to happen at least in the foreseeable future. I mean, it's a worthwhile endeavor, sure. I'm all for it. Getting money out of politics. All right. But
it's a pie in the sky liberalism there. Say you're showing your true colors.
Getting money out of politics, I like how, if we get money out of politics, we should just go for, because they want socialism, right? This person, whoever it is. I mean, I'm assuming.
Just come out and say it. Again, they just hide in what they believe.
So we'll get money out of politics, but we'll just take everyone's money and under the threat of the state. And that'll how we'll get money in politics. And even then, dude, you think all the socialist regimes, they're all fucking corrupt. I mean, China's Communist Party. I mean, how do you get government positions? Or you're close to the fucking government and you're close to the party.
Dude, I even just saw 60 Minutes, which actually had a decent piece on immigration, talking about Russia and the Sochi Olympics.
I'm just spitballing here now.
And how much it cost. And they estimate that Putin stole some like 16 to 25 billion. And just, stole like either for himself or just in over contracts that were worth too much to his own personal friends. So yeah, let's have
probably, man. They think Putin's like the richest man in the world, right? Technically, just because he runs Gazprom and stuff, the natural gas and oil. He's the head oligarch of a fucking petrostate.
Probably.
Yeah, Putin's weird. It's like his best friend is a violinist and is worth like $140 million or something. And it's like so clearly a funnel for Putin's money. Anyway, that'll be another video. There is an answer, a mechanism that can bring democracy into the workplace, worker cooperatives. Under the cooperative model, workers have decision-making power that corresponds to the risks and productivity of their employment. Each worker gets an equal vote on decisions, which are made on a majority basis. All
decisions about what?
Where the company's going. But do you understand how inefficient that is? You got to poll your entire fucking workforce of people who don't know what they're talking about for every business decision, every major business decision. Companies excel because they have an Elon Musk, because they have a Jeff Bezos, because they have a Bill Gates.
Which is why you pay him a shit ton of money.
Which is why you pay them a shit ton of money and why they're worth so much money.
I love how we're just rebranding, okay? That's one of my biggest beefs with the left is that they just change words. It's now a cooperative. It's a workers' cooperative. It sounds nice. They just make shit sound better, and they change the term every 8 years so people don't remember.
They're good with their words, man. The wordplay on the left is crazy. So some capitalist economies have already made concessions to workers demanding more. This undemocratic dependency, demanding more than undemocratic dependency. Halfway measures, such as the German contract of, I'm going to butcher this, Mitbestimmung, or codetermination, for example, allow workers to participate in the management of a company. Workers have also sometimes gained ownership of parts or even all of the enterprises where they work. For example, employee stock ownership plans in the U.S. But worker ownership alone is fundamentally insufficient. In most capitalist economies, such measures still exclude workers from the actual direction and control of enterprises. So it's not enough that, my dad, for example, my dad's a union worker. He fixes airplanes for UPS. Mm-hmm. He gets stock options. So, for every couple years that he is, they give him like some amount of stocks. Thank you. Like they'll take some of his paycheck, they'll put it in like a special fund for him.
I was gonna say, he has to pay for that.
Right. It's like, well, yeah, but it's part of his benefits. It's part of like his negotiated salary, whatever. That part.
He is part of his benefits is in options.
Yeah. So part of his benefits is in stock options. Okay. So that's owning part of the company, technically, right?
Sure.
But their problem, Richard's problem is that the guy who runs UPS isn't calling my dad up on the phone and asking him where they should do their next big marketing campaign. That's the
Well,
problem
tell
is
them
that they
Richard's
don't have any.
stupid, because if it's a public company then they hold votes, and you're allowed to vote based on your shares.
Right, exactly. Like also, besides CEOs are accountable to their employees. They are
To their shareholders.
to their shareholders, and to their board. So there is some accountability. This idea that Jeff
The
Bezos,
CEO of Uber just got kicked out because he's an asshole.
Ariana
essentially.
Huffington got voted out by the board of directors at the very magazine that Richard Wolff writes this communist trash that I'm reading to you today.
Alrighty.
Keep going through.
Yeah, give me a couple more lines of nonsense here, and then
I think we might be good. I mean, this is just more nonsense. They democratize the direction of companies rather than just give employees a stake in some of the management decisions. Workers decide dramatically who to hire and fire as managers. In capitalism, benefits of improvements, for example, in technology, flow mostly or only to one level, to directors, who are almost never workers as well. Right. Because...
As if the CEO of these major companies aren't working like 60-hour weeks.
Oh, yeah, no, they do nothing. Don't you know? They just sit there and they command from their big desk.
Of the working man.
It really is. This guy's never worked a day in his life.
No, I was just thinking, how much of Huffington Post business is just people making fun of like their product is their like news and articles, and like it's not even received how they intended. Like people just laugh at it now.
I know.
Like, I bet you that's like a sizable chunk of their business.
I mean, for our sake, I sure as hell hope so.
Like I hope they never go out of business.
I always hope when I see those those tweets on Twitter, like I always hope people are just following and retweeting these people to show how stupid they are, and that they don't actually believe it.
See, I think it might be backfiring on us, Matt. I think people are following and retweeting them, but they don't see how stupid they are. Which is why we have the situation that we do.
Honestly, I'm done reading through this.
I'm
done reading through this. This is more the same stupid shit. Capitalism is infinitely better than communism. And also, I love this idea that the United States is the Wild West of capitalism with our with our bloated regulations, right? And the pay-to-play contracts that companies get in the government. I mean, that's the reason they're lobbying the government so much. Why are the richest counties right outside of Washington, D.C.? Because all the money's in Washington and it's off. All the money is to be made working off the government dime. That's where the money's at. That's Raytheon. That's BAE Systems. That's Boeing. That's... Sorry. I just keep going, but it's ridiculous. But yeah, sure, capitalism. I wish we had full capitalism. Jesus.
Yeah, we could take a little more capitalism, to be honest.
I wish we lived in this loony, I wish we lived in the reality of these loony leftists say
Well, they come out with rankings, and America's consistently like between like 50 and 100 for like most free economic countries in the world. Like we're actually not even close to the top of it. Hong Kong crushes it, dude.
Hong Kong, Singapore.
You do
Singapore
kills
it.
Over there.
Asia's a crazy fucking place.
You got child labor. It's a paradise.
Oh my god. It's actually one of the highest ones in economic freedom is Denmark and Norway. They have low corporate taxes, right? They have low corporate taxes and a small homogenous population, so they can have this welfare state. And plus, they have some oil up in Norway, right? So when your socialist friends talk about Norway, you tell them that they have the lowest corporate income tax in Europe. And they'll say, no, they don't. Who the fuck told you that?
What is that, a fact? What are you, a racist?
Yeah. What are you, some kind of goddamn racist? All right, guys. I mean, it's been an hour.
That wraps it up.
Thanks for hanging out with us. I hope it was funny. I mean, we just kind of joked around this episode, going through some serious topics. Too much crying on the news, too much fake tears.
Yep.
Some crocodile tears. We do this.
Back.
Yeah, we'll be back next week. We do this every week. This is the Ombudsman Report. My name's Matthew Sperry. You can follow me on Twitter at Planet Politico. You can make sure you follow Bobby Juliana at Bobby J Politics. Mm-hmm. Until next time.